like, something ate this. What could it be?
My gosh, we're spending $8,000 a year on groceries.
Today we are headed to visit with Clyde, and he is the inventor of Clyde's garden planter. And if you don't know what that is, it's like a cool little tool that you use to plan your garden, and it helps you with companion planting and frost dates and all that good stuff. And I actually used it. It's what I started with when I first started gardening, and for the first 3 years. And it's a really handy little tool, and he's invited us over to his house, and we're going to interview him. If we're helping someone grow food, we're doing something good.
I agree with that. I agree with that. And it's no wonder that God put Adam and Eve in a garden.
Yes. Yeah, everything turned out so beautiful. I mean, it was looking like the best garden we'd ever had. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so pretty.
I did have a sense that I found something that could be very useful to a lot of people.
Could you tell us like a few of the highlights of exactly what it does?
Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to meet one another, and thank you for your provision today. And I pray your blessing on the day through Christ.
Amen.
We're here with Clyde Majerus, and his wife Ann is over here too. And we're just going to talk about his garden planter and how it came about. Before we really get started about the planter, I wanted to ask you how you and Ann met.
Okay, well, it was 42 or 43 years ago, okay, and I moved from Chicagoland area down to Missouri, and to a little town called Centralia, Missouri, and started going to a little Baptist church there in town, and went to a home Bible study with some friends. And I asked my friends if they would pray for me that I would be able to find a wife. Okay? Want to be married. And they prayed for me. And one of the ladies at the Bible study suggested that I come, her husband suggested that I go with them to meet her sister.
Uh-huh.
And so I introduced to Ann. Come on over here, Ann. and so that's how we met, and she liked me and I liked her, and so we ended up getting married in 1984. And then
how many years was that after you met?
Probably 2 years, maybe.
Yeah.
Here's a picture of the family that came as a result. Should I bring it up close? Yeah. That I was pretty clean shaven during that picture.
Can I see?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow, that doesn't even look like you.
See, I had cancer at the time. I had a lymphoma cancer.
Oh really?
And so I shaved my head because my hair was falling out because of going through chemotherapy. That was what year? 2000, same year that the Twin Towers came down.
Okay.
And, I'm very thankful to be just fine now. 24 years later.
Did you do chemo and radiation?
I just did chemo,
Uh-huh.
but we, at the time, I studied very hard, reading things that would help.
Yeah.
And I learned that eating a vegetable diet and juicing your vegetables so that your body has more to absorb, that causes your likelihood of survival to go up.
Yes.
So I was willing to do it.
Yeah.
Especially with the family, you know, she juiced carrots and celery, and I ate everything juiced.
I follow a lot of people who are going through cancer or that have healed their bodies, and almost all of them say carrot juice, lots of juicing.
Yeah.
There's so many.
It's not like a magic formula, but what you're doing is you're giving your body the resources to fight. And I think that's what's going on there.
Yeah.
So we did that. She juiced all kinds of stuff. I even turned a little bit orange.
Yeah.
You know, my
I've
skin
seen that.
from eating carrot juice, you know.
Uh-huh.
So,
That's
well, we
amazing.
just thank the Lord I didn't have to check out, and still have had 24 years, and but that's the reason my hair was short in the picture.
And now you grow it kind of long.
Yeah, longer right now.
I like it.
My the kids are all grown up, and Ann homeschooled them.
Yeah.
All the way through, which was a lot of work, and she deserves a
medal for sure.
Medal. Oh yeah, pat on a couple of pats on the back. Now she's taking care of the 95-year-old grandma.
Yes.
So the work has not come to an end.
I couldn't do the homeschooling thing. I really, really want to, but I just
Yeah.
don't have the patience at all. I'm amazed that people can do it, especially with a lot of kids. And mostly it's people that do have a lot of kids that homeschool.
You know, he was the enthusiast for that.
Yeah.
He grew up in Milwaukee area. I grew up in small town Kansas,
Uh-huh.
and so I had a great experience in school, but his wasn't so good. And so he kind of had the idea first.
Yeah.
But we thought we're gonna just go 1 year at a time, and
that's what
as
we
long
did.
as it's working, we'll go on.
And she would say, I'm not doing a good job. And then we'd take the kids and test, and they would test 3 years ahead of where
Yeah.
they were.
Yeah.
So I know she was doing a good job. And it's because it's direct mentoring, direct tutorial, you know, even if you're feeling like you didn't do a good job.
Yeah.
God helped us through.
I think so. We prayed our way
kind of
through.
did
Yeah.
it together.
Well, what got you interested in growing your own food?
Well, it's having 5 kids and feeding them. And I looked, you know, my background is industrial engineering, which has to do with minimizing the costs of production. And I kind of used that same frame of mind to look at our family, and I realized, my gosh, we're spending $8,000 a year on groceries. Yeah. And I looked at the cost of a packet of seeds, and it was $3, and I could grow about $200 worth of groceries for that.
Yeah.
$3, and I thought, you know what? I bet I could whack take about $4,000 off of our grocery bill if I would just grow it here in the yard. So we lived out in the country in a little farmhouse, and there was the owner that I was renting from said, yeah, go ahead, have your garden. So I started growing things and learning about it. That kind of led to the slide chart because since I didn't know what I was doing, I had to start looking up all the information about when the planting is and when the harvest is.
Yeah.
And at that same time, all right, if I'll just tell you how the chart came about. Yeah, I was studying at work for my industrial engineering time phasing. And what they do is they use a horizontal calendar, and they use it to schedule backwards from the due date of a product to the raw material date when you need to get the raw material so that you can convert it and drill it and paint it and fix it up so it's ready to ship on the day when it's due, okay? And so I took that horizontal calendar home, and I got my different books out and plotted the dates for planting all the vegetables. And when I got done, I thought, gee, I was sitting there holding it, and I thought, gee, you know, I've never seen any of this in any of the books I've read about gardening. And if it would slide, I bet it would work all over the United States. So I sent it in and had it copyrighted, and it turns out that the variation among in frost dates in the United States is pretty consistent. The planting times are still like 4 weeks before, and the harvest time is still like 8 weeks after, you know? So the chart works dandy all over the country.
Yeah.
So I was just really trying to solve my own problem about when to plant, and it turned out that it was useful to lots of other people.
Yes.
And
I think because I used this my very first year gardening, and then the next 2 or 3 years, I used it. I mean, I still have it. If I have a question, I can just look at it really quick. But I think definitely for people who, you know, are more hands-on and want to write things down and stuff, this is much easier than going onto an app that has like all the digital stuff. This does the exact same thing, and it's just right there for you. Could you tell us like a few of the highlights of exactly what it does?
Sure, I'll be glad to show you. I've got a little talk about that, if that's all right with you. And
Yeah.
if you bring the camera up real close here. Okay, so it's a vegetable planting slide chart that works all over the country, and it operates by sliding this red frost line on the horizontal calendar. Okay, so if you're up in Wisconsin, the frost is in June, but if you're down in Louisiana, it's in February. Okay, for us here, we live in mid Missouri, or South Missouri. Ours is mid-April, kind of right in the middle. Once this frost line is in place, each column is a week, and it gives you FP as the first outdoor planting date for each garden vegetable, beginning with things like onions and peas and spinach to plant ahead of the frost, but waiting on things like melons and peppers and tomatoes and okra until after the frost is passed because they are very tender. They can't take any frost at all. Then the indoor seeding dates are also marked, so you know when to put your flats out in the house. And you know, it's surprising how much money you can save by doing your own flats. And if you go to like the box stores, you're going to pay $3 for a tomato, $5 for a tomato, and you can buy a whole bag of seeds
for less than that.
For less than that, that's right. Then the check marks here, they give you the expected harvest dates, and and it's nice to be able to look at the season with this format that we have on the chart. You can sit here in February and you can look 3 weeks ahead and see, you know, what am I going to need? Looks like I'm going to send my wife in for some onion sets. I can look 6 weeks ahead. Well, I'm going to need to put a lattice up for my pole beans in about 6 weeks. So it allows you to plan and think ahead. You can look ahead 12 weeks. No, we probably better not travel right then because that's when the tomatoes are coming out. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
You pull it open and it gives you the quantity of seed for a 10-foot row, the planting depth, the distance between rows, the distance between plants, the sunlight requirement. You know, some people have shaded areas of their lawn. They're not shaded all day, but partly shaded. So they can grow these partial suns over here. The minimum soil temperature for germination. That a lady in Texas suggested that to me. She said people are bringing their seeds back in, but the problem is they planted them too early. So now if you know your soil temperature, which is very inexpensive, a $2 thermometer, and you can check the soil temperature and make sure that it's warm enough that it'll germinate. Then the expected yield, say that your family wants to can 80 pounds of green beans. Well, how many pounds are we going to have Ryan plant? How many feet of row? Okay, so this is pounds of yield per 10-foot row right there. And then lots of folks are learning quite a bit about doing companion planting. So this list here is companion plants. So when you plant this with that, they nourish each other under the ground. It's a little bit like adding fertilizer, but it's cost-free. The only thing you did is put them in close to one another.
Yes, we love companion planting.
This is the spring side of the chart, and you can flip it over and slide it to your fall frost date, and it gives you the last planting week to have a nice fall garden. And if you don't know, and all the other data is on there on both sides, okay? If you don't know your frost dates, that's okay, because the instructions that come with the chart tell you how to do it, but they also have a large listing of local frost dates. You look them up by state and then city, and come on in real close there. You can take a look. You'll see that that's like for New Orleans, 20th of February for spring, the 5th of December for fall. So it has the spring and fall frost dates for all the cities, and you can find a city near you and get pretty close.
Well, did you have any idea it would be so successful when you first started it?
I did not. I did have a sense that I found something that could be very useful to a lot of people. And there's over 40 million gardening families.
Wow.
So I think there's lots of potential yet. I think we've sold 500,000.
Wow.
But that's just a scratch in the surface. It's not that expensive, and it'll save the person who uses this will save many hours of looking up. And in fact, one guy on Amazon said this is the best quick reference you can buy, which that's very nice of a guy to say that.
I agree, because a lot of times when I'm out in the garden, I'll try to look on my phone for something. And first off, in Texas, the phone gets too hot really quickly. So then we're inside with it, letting the phone cool off. Or you're getting water all over the phone, or it's getting all dirty because anything. So this is just a quick, it's right there. It's so fast.
You can just, and I tell people to get 3. you know.
Mm-hmm.
One to keep in the kitchen where we're talking about what we're going to do next. One to put with the tools and the seeds, and it can get dirty, so what? And a third one, because you're probably going to have a friend who says to you, golly, I wish you'd have got me one of these.
Oh, goodness. People always want to know, because you're such a seasoned gardener. And for those who are just starting out, can you give us some of your best tips? Like for someone, okay, here's one. Your best tips for someone who's a brand new gardener that maybe is worried that they might fail, or give them some kind of advice that would help them know that everything's going to be okay. You got this. Whatever good advice you have, since you've been doing it for a long, long time.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you that it did turn out that I was able to bring a lot of food into our house. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's between, right now, it's just Ann and I think it's between $3 and $4 grand a year.
Mm-hmm.
And probably the biggest tip is that this is worth doing, and because it is income that's tax free.
Mm-hmm.
With me on that?
Yeah.
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 You know, when you if you say you were to earn $4,000, okay, to earn that you have to earn 5, because you have to pay around 20-25% taxes by the time you pay the state tax and the federal tax, and then the sales tax when you go to the store, okay, which some states have lower sales tax, but most of them have at least some.
Yeah.
Okay, by the time you pay all your taxes, you have to make $5 grand in order to have a $4 grand income.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in my mind, probably the first thing I would say to a gardener is, a new gardener is, this is going to be worth your while financially. You're going to go through a learning curve, and even folks who have done it for years still have problems.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to discover you have a good savings in it. It's worth the work. But if you're just a beginning gardener, I would say if you have any funds, you'd be smart to get you some raised beds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that way you can control the soil. Your likelihood of success goes way up, and your work requirement goes down. So you got two things at the same time. The soil, when you control the soil, the chances of your plants doing well and producing goes up.
Mm-hmm.
And also, since it's a raised bed, it's easy to sit on the edge of it and keep the weeds out, so you're not fighting weeds that have roots that are this deep and you're trying to kill them off, you know.
Yeah.
When we got started, there was no money for a raised bed, so we did flat beds for years, okay? And still, it was very productive, but I ended up using quite a bit of mulch to protect our, to keep the weeds to the minimum and stuff like that. Then I guess a third layer of advising is if you can put your garden where it's easy to see it every day and easy to step out and work on it, your likelihood of success is going to go up there.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe a fourth thing to think about is grow some things that you really enjoy eating, and in your family too, like the kids. Like one time I grew some purple broccoli. Okay, I'm just curious about it, and we did not like it. It was too strong. So here I've got these gobs of purple broccoli, and she's like, "Don't bring any more of that in the house." So pick out some stuff that the family already, the family will eat and enjoy. So you want to have a good success at the beginning, so that it can expand then from there, and then go try some unusual things. I've tried a lot of unusual things.
Oh, goodness.
I went through the master gardening program here locally, and it was a great program. I recommend it. It was only like less than $200.
Yeah.
And they taught us everything. And one of the things they taught us is that's very true, and that is it. You can work like crazy on your garden, and then the soil can have a deficiency, and then you're done. You're not going to get anything out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you start by making sure that the soil that you have in your garden, whether it's in a flat garden or a raised bed, has all the nutrients that it needs to
I agree.
to produce. Yeah. So that you set yourself up for success if you use a raised bed. Put the bed close to the house where you can work it.
Mm-hmm.
Plant some things that you love to eat, and make sure that the dirt in the soil has all the nutrients and elements that are needed. If you have a bad year, don't give up.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I guess maybe another thing would be don't plant everything next to each other. Plant your zucchinis in different locations. So if the bugs get one, they won't get them all.
Those vine borers, I can't stand them.
I know they kill, well, and the squash beetles,
Yeah.
they kill a lot of our zucchinis. Yeah.
It's always the vine borers for us. And we've picked them out with tweezers too.
Yeah, you can cut that open and pull the
And
larva out of it.
I did that, and they still would come back.
Really? More of them, huh?
Yes. They would just chew right through it. Every time we'd go out there, I'd just want to cry. Like, what in the world? I have seen that some people put foil around the bottom. I'm going to try that this year.
I've heard of doing that.
Because I haven't done it, but a lot of people say that it works. So that's our next trick.
Or they'll take a toilet roll core and cut it and slip it over the plant when it's young. And then they can't get into it as easily.
Okay.
And, I have another advice,
Okay.
is how valuable your fall garden is. You know, only a small percentage of people, I'm going to say, of gardeners, maybe 15% do a fall garden. But your fall garden turns out to be easier to grow and easier to maintain.
Yes.
And it grows way later in the fall than you would have thought, especially if you're kind of prepared with some coverings on the front on cold days. You got to run out there and cover them up. We've done that lots of times. She lets me use the old blankets.
She's good.
We did that too
And,
in our fall garden.
and you can make it. You can extend your garden. I mean, a lot of times here in South Missouri, we're still eating out of our garden when the kids come home for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And serving things that are fall crops like bok choy and arugula and Hilton Chinese cabbage, Swiss chard. You ate Swiss chard in your salad out of my garden.
Well, I didn't
today when you did.
taste it because I don't like Swiss chard.
You didn't taste it?
I didn't
You know
taste
what?
it.
I picked only the really young leaves. They're good in a salad.
I guess I didn't notice. Yeah, that's one thing. Our very first year gardening, we grew everything, and I messed up because I planted. I think I got this after. I must have gotten this after I started everything, because I had to have. Because we had like every single plant you can imagine in Texas now, starting in February.
Yep.
And put it all in the ground. We tilled it up. I mean, it was ridiculous. Like.
Yeah, with a front tine tiller. That was a big rookie mistake.
Oh yeah.
And we sprinkled. We really didn't know what we were doing. We sprinkled vermiculite and perlite and all kinds of stuff into the soil. We spent so much money, and we started all the seeds inside with a shop light. I think like a huge shop light. It was so heavy, and we planted it all out at the same time. We planted Swiss chard, and I had never tasted Swiss chard. And we cooked it with some, I think, eggs, and we were all just like, oh, no, this is terrible. None of the kids liked it. He and I didn't like it. It was awful. But a bunch of stuff didn't survive, obviously. It got hot really, really fast, and then I realized, I wasn't supposed to plant all this at the same time. You can't do that in Texas. Yeah, we quickly learned that, all the brassicas and leafy greens and stuff needs to be done in the fall.
It is better in the fall. You're
Definitely.
right.
Yeah. And that's my favorite. I tell him all the time, I can't wait for fall gardening because it's my favorite.
So you might want to try chard one other way, different way.
What?
Because it can be. I would bring in the chard, wash it up. She would cook it. And I wouldn't get any at the table because the kids ate it all.
Really?
They liked it so
But you
much.
would have.
It tastes like dirt to me.
Well, what she did is, if you boil it and you leave it so that it can be on the surface of the water, it turns black and has a nasty color to it. Okay. So when you put it in the pot, you rinse it down, cut it up, but not into pieces about this big. And when you put it in the pot, you take a glass lid and flip it over and lay it on top of it so that it's being held underwater while it's being cooked.
Okay.
And it keeps its nice green color. and then the stalks, as they're cooked, they get sweet.
Okay.
And these guys, the kids would pull the stalks out, and they get so that you can tell it's done when you take a fork and cut it. It'll cut in the pan, in the boiling water. Then bring it out and put some ranch dressing on it. It was and it's sweet. The stalks are sweet. It was pretty good.
They're so beautiful to
They
look
are.
at, the different colored ones.
Yeah, the different colors.
And we
I
have
would
those
give
in
it-
our fall garden, and the deer like them too.
I'll give it another chance, and I have one other reason why. If you check Swiss chard, it's on the superfood list. Okay, yeah, especially as an anti-cancer food.
Okay.
It has a high level of vitamin A in it, just the right kind of A.
Yeah.
That's good for you, you know.
So when you boil it, it doesn't taste like, because it tastes like dirt to me.
Well,
No, I don't
you know what? That chard and beets are both in the same family, and they do have a earthy taste.
Yes, very earthy.
It's earthy taste, but some of us like that taste, you know.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I like beet. Like I make beet juice, but I put like cherries and strawberries and beets, and it's tolerable. And my kids love it too. I mean, they'll devour it. They're like, "Is that beet juice?" But the chard, ooh. I'm gonna try it again though. I'm gonna boil it. Do the stalks
better.
have less of an earthy or more?
Their flavor is more sweet.
Okay.
It's almost mildly sugary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we'd like that. We like sugar. We like sweet stuff. We actually don't have any sugar in our house. We use maple syrup and honey to sweeten stuff.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good.
So,
Yeah.
because it's too much. I mean, we would just eat constantly. We love sweets. Well, he eats all the sweet
Yeah, my
stuff.
inner big boy comes out about 8 o'clock at night.
He's like, "What you got? What can you make? What can you whip up in there?"
Yeah, you're not chubby.
No.
You're burning it somehow.
You know how everyone says if you have sons, they eat everything, and I never really. I'm like, those people are full of bull. You know, like because you hear that all the time. Boys eat so much. Boys eat so much. And then my son turns like, I don't know. It's probably started a year ago, huh? That boy can eat everything in sight, and he's skin and bones. I mean, just constant.
I remember sitting at the table as a teenager. My dad turned to my mother and he said, "That boy's eating 2 or 3 times as much what I'm eating every day."
I bet it's true.
But what you don't want to have is an overly hungry family on your hands.
No.
'Cause they get hangry.
Yeah.
Well, we have 3 ways that we sell it. We sell it on Amazon.
Okay.
And sell it on my website, which I hope you would connect to,
Yes.
so that your folks can find us.
Yes.
And then the third way is to sell it in bulk to garden centers and seed companies and hardware stores, and also to master gardener groups or garden clubs. And in that case, what we do is we can customize it with my name and theirs, called co-branding, or we can customize the chart where I take my brand off, and it's full branding. They put their brand on it.
Okay.
And probably the largest order we've ever had. The orders go down to 100. You know, where we do a branding for people. The largest order we've ever had was 10,000 people, and that was it was a company called Azure Standard. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
They bought 10,000 last year. Have you ever heard of Heaven's Harvest? They bought 30,000 from us.
Wow.
We were fainting.
Yeah.
That took us a while to do.
We had neighbors folding. We had children folding.
Yeah, lots of people helped us because we couldn't get them out very fast for them.
Wow.
Yeah. The whole family did it. We set up boards where you can tuck the chart in and then fold it over and tape it, and the kids did that with us, and
Yeah.
the kids did a lot of things. Actually, they made phone calls when they were here. They learned how to be phone marketeers. They did internet marketing. I think we have 40 different master gardener groups that use the chart
That's
in the
amazing.
United States.
Wow.
And,
So where's the future of Clyde's garden?
well, I think we're going to continue doing the bulk. and also selling them on Amazon and our website. We're also working on a flower chart. That's working with some ladies that are experts from the East Coast.
Yeah.
And they want a chart for cool season annual flowers.
Okay.
So we're working on that. And then we're working on a kind of like a Clyde's Garden Planner Deluxe model, which would be made out of hard plastic.
Okay.
And you know, if you get it wet, you just wipe it off.
Yeah.
And but it'll be quite a bit more expensive than just the paper version. Yeah. So.
What about one for medicinal herbs?
Well, you know, that's a possibility. Well, you know, vegetables are 40 million people. Flowers are more like 70 million people.
Wow.
And herbs are probably closer to around 5 or 7 million out of 300 million, you know, 150 million families in the United States. So the herbs wouldn't be demanded as much.
Yeah.
So maybe that would be fun to do in the future.
Yeah. With
someone who knows herbs better than me.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the thing I run into when I'm expanding the flowers or that other things. I'm not as familiar with them. Feed yourself first, right?
Yes.
Then you can feed others.
Yes.
Yeah. What we've discovered is that the chart will not sell if you just set it on the shelf. It has to be demonstrated. And we did not understand that at first, you know, and now it's so obvious, it just whacks you in the head. That people look at it and they can't tell what it is.
Yeah.
Okay? But when they see the demonstration, they're like, I gotta have one of these.
Yeah. Thank you so much for allowing us to come into your home.
Thank you for
lunch.
helping me with my business.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I hope that it turns out to be a blessing to you and to the folks who are maybe would decide to get one and use it.
Yes, I agree. I think that anyone who's going to start growing food if we're helping someone grow food, we're doing something good.
I agree with that. I agree with that. And you know, even if you're not over the top prepper, okay, what would be wrong with knowing what to do just in case there was a problem?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You get started, start learning. Then if there is a problem someday, we're already down the road quite a ways.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
we
totally
can feed
agree.
ourselves. We'll keep you home so that you're not out spending money. You're actually at home saving money, okay? And you'll be doing something with your family rather than separated. If you're out golfing and the kids are little, they're not going to be with you golfing.
Yeah.
But if you choose to garden as your hobby, you're right there with the kids, spending time with them.
Yeah.
Quality time. Yeah. It's in my mind, it's a home run at several levels. Nutrition and health, exercise,
Yes.
family activity, savings. It's no wonder that God put Adam and Eve in a garden.